Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Cornerstone, the show where we attempt to navigate our culture through a biblical lens. As always, and until further notice, I'm your host, Shane Kai. I know it's been a little while. Last week I didn't do a show, the week before I did, and then the week before that I didn't do a show again. I think the first time I missed an episode was just because I was lazy, but this most recent time was because I was sick. And I'm still getting over my cold, so if my voice sounds weird, that's because I still have a cold. I feel a lot better. Like I feel like I can move around and do things, but my voice does sound weird still. You might notice I got a beanbag. It's pretty cool. You take a look. It's a not much to say. It's a beanbag. What are we talking about today? I have a nice topic for you guys. The topic for today is something that we all have dealt with, whether you believe in God or you don't. All of us deal with this in one way or another. And I really wanted to touch on this topic because I think that there's a big piece of misinformation about this topic that the majority of us still believe in. And even I believed in for a long time. And that issue that we're talking about today is failure and how we react to failure, what failure is, what it does to our mind and what it does to our body. I'm not a philosopher or anything like that, so I don't want to come across as like this is the definitive answer to what these things are. I'm just a kid who is very opinionated. Just keep that in mind that this is largely my opinion and my point of view. So if you disagree, that's fine. The way I see it, failure has 3 stages. It has the feeling, it has the manifestation, and then it has the state of mind. And think of it as like waves in the ocean. And you get hit with the first wave, you recover, hit with the second wave, recover, and hit with the third wave, right? So it's in waves. The first wave is the feeling. The feeling of failure can happen before you even fail. It's before the results come in. I'm going to give a couple of metaphors when I'm talking about these different states, and I'm going to use the same metaphors for each new wave. So first metaphor would be you're running a foot race, right? You're in last place and first place hasn't scored yet and the race isn't over, but you have a gut feeling that you're going to fail. We've all been there. We've all had that feeling of, I'm going to lose this. It's technically not over yet, so I could win, but chances are I'm going to lose. And that feeling of failure hits before you even fail in the first place. Another metaphor, maybe one that's a little bit simpler, would be, you're playing video games, right? You're playing video games with your mates and you are looking at the scoreboard and you're like, yeah, there's no way we're coming back from this. Whether it's like Rocket League or COD or something like that. The game's technically not over, but I don't see us coming back from this. I don't see us turning over the score. So that's a feeling of failure. And then the third example I was going to give was like maybe you go in for a job interview and you are in the interview and the interview is still going on and they could hire you. They haven't made a decision yet, but you let something slip out of your mouth. And as soon as you say it, you're like, I shouldn't have said that. That makes me look worse. And then the feeling of failure kicks in and you feel like I failed even before the results are even in, right? So that's the point I'm getting to, is that the feeling is the first wave, and most of the time the feeling of failure will hit you before the results are in. So that's the first wave. The second wave is the manifestation, all right? So the feeling was before the results, and the manifestation is during the results, right? So now the results are in. So let's run back through those metaphors. The first one I went through was the foot race, right? So the manifestation basically means, how does failure manifest into our lives? Like, how does it present itself physically, right? It's not just a feeling anymore. Before the results came in, it was just a feeling, but now that the results are in, failure is going to have some kind of physical toll on us. What does that mean, right? Well, in the example of the foot race, failure means you don't get a trophy, you don't get a medal, you don't get recognized for your position. The results are in, you got last place, you exerted all that energy and you got nothing. So that's an example of how failure can manifest itself. Same thing with the video games. When you don't clutch up the round, you don't earn that XP, you don't get that mission complete, you don't earn that reward, you don't earn that loot crate. If you're playing a game with loot crates, then just stop. And that's how failure can manifest itself in video games. And with a job interview, failure can manifest itself by saying, well, you failed a job interview, you don't have a job now. Failure can manifest itself when the results come in a couple different ways. It can be something happens as a result of your failure, or it could also be something doesn't happen as a result of your failure, right? So in the example of the foot race, right, nothing bad happened to you, but it's what didn't happen, right? You didn't get the trophy. You didn't get the job interview. You didn't get the XP, right? But failure can also present itself in a way that something does happen to you. Like, for example, if you fail to block a punch, what's going to happen? You're going to get punched. So that's something that can happen as a result of failure. So that's the second wave. And then the third and final wave is the state of mind. And this is post-results, right? So we had pre-results, during results, and now we have post-results. The state of mind of failure is pretty simple. You had the feeling of failure before the results came in. Then the results came in and failure manifested itself, whether by giving you something or not giving you something. And now, having come off of that failure, you're in a state of mind that says, why try again? Because you're gonna fail, right? So once again, let's run through those examples. The foot race. Why try training? Why train again? You lost the race. Why go back and go to the gym? Why eat healthier? Why spend as much time as you can training for the next big race when you lost? What's the point? You're just going to lose again. With the games, why play the games anymore? Why not just shut the computer off? Just uninstall it, right? Uninstall a game and never play again. And maybe that can have some good results in your life by turning off the video games. But maybe in this case, the video games are giving you something good. Like, for example, maybe you live really far away from your friends, and the only time you're able to do something fun with them is over the internet, which is through video games. So in this case, it's actually providing you a good thing. You're able to have some sort of online fellowship with people. So that can be a discouragement, saying, you know what, you shouldn't play anymore, right? The job interview is really bad because if you fail the job interview, then you don't have a job and you can't pay rent, you can't pay for groceries, you can't support yourself. I can't say that I've ever had failure as a state of mind after a job interview because the stakes are too high, right? So if I can't pay rent, I'm not just going to accept that, right? I'm going to pick myself up and go, okay, let's go to the next job interview. But I can see where someone might think that way, or they're like, I'm never going to get a job, so why even try? I'm just going to go on food stamps or whatever. Especially the way this country is going now, there's even more incentive to not make money, but that's a conversation for another day. So we ran through the different waves. The first wave hits, it crashes. It's the feeling of failure before the results come in. Then you have how failure manifests itself into your life when the results come in. And then post results, how your mind convinces you to not try again after you fail. And I think all three of these waves are waves that we have dealt with, even more so as Christians. But if you don't believe in God, it's not to say that you can't feel these. You still do. Like, everyone deals with these things, but I would say that Christians deal with them more. And it sucks, you know? Whether you believe in God or not, nobody wants to fail, right? Nobody shoots for failure. Everyone wants to score. Everyone wants to succeed. And sometimes you put a lot of effort, investment, whether you're investing time or money or energy into whatever you're doing, and when you fail, it can take a toll on us. And a lot of us aren't strong enough to pick ourselves up afterwards and continue. So we just sit in the mud and we take the beating. Now, this is something I've never done before on the show, and hopefully I'll do it more often. But if you are a woman, a girl, and you're watching this video, I need to ask you for a favor. I'd like you to skip to the timestamp that I'm going to put on the screen right here, okay? Because this next part that I want to talk about, I want it to be just us and the guys. I don't want any girls watching this part. I know I technically can't force you. You can watch it if you want, but I'd politely ask you, if you are a woman, if you're a girl, please skip to this part, because I just want us and the guys here, no one else. So please do that now. All right, are they all gone? Cool. So it's just us guys. I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to read your mind, okay? This whole time that I've been talking about failure, there's been something on your mind, and I know exactly what it is. It's porn. It's pornography, and it's lust. It's the lust of the flesh. I mean, maybe this wasn't on your mind, but now that I've said it, it kind of reminds you and you go, you know what? You're right. This is something that every guy on the planet, Christian or not, mostly Christian, honestly, I don't think I've ever met a God-fearing man that hasn't dealt with this in one way or another for a certain period of his life. Pornography is a massive problem for young Christian men. And I myself am not exempt, even now, as we speak. It's destroying. You know, it's like when I was younger, I was just kind of watching it and giving into it because it was cool, it was good, it was fun, it was pleasurable. But nowadays, even though I still fail, it's almost like God has opened my eyes to the truth. And now every time I fail, I'm reminded of why I need to pick myself back up again. I'm reminded of, you know, why God tells us to avoid lust of the flesh and things of the sort. You know, it's destroying our brains. It's destroying our minds. It's destroying our ability to be attracted to things. You know, that's something I've realized, is that it's after years and years of watching pornography, sometimes I find it difficult to be attracted to normal things. And the idea that that is happening in my mind is terrifying and disgusting. And I want nothing more than to get rid of it. And I know that you deal with it too. You know, just the way that I look at these girls, the way that I think about things, the way that my mind processes information is just so distorted. And now I'm at an age where even though I still fail, I hate myself for it, because now I know exactly why I need to stop. It's not just like I need to stop because my elders tell me to. No, it's like I know why I need to stop, and I want to stop. I really want to stop. And I'm not kidding when I say that this is probably the battle of the flesh, and the battle against pornography is probably going to be your biggest battle as a young man in Christ. I can't think of anything else in my life that has ever been this difficult. And I bring this up because the topic of failure is relevant, right? We all know what failure feels like. We all know what failure is. We're all familiar with it. Especially with pornography. When you try to abstain from it for a certain period of time, right? And you feel good and you feel refreshed. But then that one day, you just get this temptation and you get this attack. And what happens? You give in. And what happens when you give in? Do you pick yourself up afterwards and go, well, God has forgiven me, so I'll just continue my day and keep going? No, that's not what happens. I wish that could happen, but it doesn't. The majority of us will sulk and hang our head down low in our hands, and we'll feel like we're not worth it, and we'll feel like we don't deserve God's forgiveness. And what ends up happening is that depression and that those lies that we tell ourselves, they end up creating a domino effect where we end up failing even more, and we get into a rut, right? And it's almost like if we had just picked ourselves up and said, God has forgiven me, I'm going to continue, we would have been so much better off. But when we tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that ends up making us fail even more. And I should be clear, we're not telling ourselves this. It's the devil, right? The devil tells us we're not good enough. He's planting those seeds into our brains. And he's telling us that we can't return to God, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about. You know, I wanted to bring up the issue of pornography because all of us have failed. All of us have had the feeling of failure. All of us have had the effects of failure. All of us have been in a state of mind of failure where we believe that we will never succeed and we might as well just give in. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. I mean, look around you. Every guy, look around you. If you're in the church, look around you. Every guy in the church is just like you. We're not different. We're all the same. But there is hope. All right, girls, you can come back into the room and continue watching. Looking good, ladies. Shout out to anyone who understood that reference. What if I told you that everything I said about failure before this was wrong? What if those 3 waves that we talked about, those are still real, right? Those are very real feelings and state of minds that we can put ourselves in, right? Those aren't, I'm not saying those are fake. But what if that is not the definition of failure? What if we've been lying to ourselves this whole time? What if we've been beating ourselves up about the smallest things only to find out that we've been wrong? The archives have been incomplete this whole time. You know, failure is not the falling down. Failure is the staying down. Every time we fall, we believe that we failed. Every time that we give in to our sin, we give in to our temptation, what do? We beat ourselves up about it. And we say, darn it, I failed. I disappointed God. I let him down. But what if that thought process that we just went through is wrong? What if failure is not the falling down, but it's the staying down? Right? So what if every time we fall, we have been wrongfully beating ourselves up about it, when in reality, we should have just asked for forgiveness and continued? And after hearing about that, I fully believe that. I fully believe in that notion. That every time I fall, I haven't necessarily failed. I haven't failed as a child of God. Because God never expected us to be perfect. He's always said that. You won't be perfect. You're going to be righteously imperfect. That's not a quote from the Bible. I just made that up. But you know what I mean? Like it just, you are going to be flesh and bone. You are going to sin. But I love you regardless, and I've already forgiven you, assuming that you have accepted me into your life. So going off of that, why do we tell ourselves that we fail every time we fall, when it's not true? When we fall, God wants us to return to Him, ask for forgiveness, receive the forgiveness, and continue. He doesn't want us to think that day 27 is now back down to day 0 or day 1. When you fail on day 27, you just pick yourself right back up and you continue to day 28. You don't reset the counter. You don't go back to day 1. If you look at it that way, you'll never succeed. If you reset the counter every time that you fall, you will never be successful. You will never be satisfied with your relationship with God, because you will always fall and you will always reset the counter. All right, well, this is awkward. I just finished recording the episode. I finished the topic. I went into a time of the word, and then I also did the prayer request. And when I checked my camera, the SD card was full. And I was like, oh crap, how much did I lose? And it cut out right towards the end of the topic. So I gotta do it again. If it sounds like I forgot the script, it's because I gotta do it again. So I basically gotta replicate exactly what I did. So every time you fall, you just gotta get right back with God. And the next day, when you wake up, you put on your calendar, day 28, not day 1. Sorry, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. That's the key. Pick yourself up. When you fall, cry out to God, ask for forgiveness. He will hear you. He will forgive you. And you just continue. You pick yourself up. You dust yourself off and you get back out there, Charlie Brown. Failure is not taking a hit. It's accepting the hit and taking more. So in our devotional today, the devotional is kind of capping off of the topic. It's Psalm 66, verse 16, all the way to the end, which is verse 20. 16, come and hear, all you who fear God, and I will declare what He has done for my soul. I cried to Him with my mouth, and He was extolled, glorified, with my tongue. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear. But certainly God has heard me. He has attended to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be God who has not turned away my prayer, nor His mercy from me. And verse 20 is the key verse that we're talking about. Blessed be God who has not turned away my prayer, nor His mercy from me. From now on, I want to encourage everyone each episode to memorize a verse for the week. And this is our verse today. Psalm 66, verse 20. Blessed be God who has not turned away my prayer, nor His mercy from me. This is proof. This is proof of what we talked about in the topic about failure. Blessed be God. Praise God that He has not turned from me, that He hears my prayer, that He heeds my cry. He is there. He is listening. And His mercy endures forever. His forgiveness is everlasting. and he's bestowed it upon me because I have accepted him into my life. Praise God for that. So, when you fall, just cry out to God and say, I fell and I feel bad, but I need your forgiveness. And he will bestow it upon you. And you get back out there, soldier. So our prayer request for today, they did not ask me to pray for them, but I'm going to do it anyway. Our prayer request today is for a girl named Ashlyn. I wrote down this prayer request like a year ago, so it might be a little bit outdated, but I'm going to do it anyway, because why not? Ever since COVID happened, which is like 2020, Ashlyn's body has not been able to endure physical exercise all that much. Like doing even like the most mundane thing can be exhausting to them, and they have to be careful with how much energy they're spending on different things, right? So she can't go work out, like working out for her would be like a death sentence. So, and that's not normal. Like that's not a normal thing for people. So I guess my prayer request today is that God will lay his hand. I almost said her hand. I'm like, whoa, God's not a woman. Excuse me, Ariana. God is not a woman. I just pray that God would lay his hand upon Ashlyn's body and heal her endurance, I guess, and her stamina. I guess those are the best words, like endurance. Just her strength. I think that she just doesn't have much physical strength to do anything. So I just pray that God will heal her and give her the strength or restore her strength. That's what I should say. Restore her physical strength. And yeah, so that's about it. So pray for Ashlyn. That's going to do it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 50 subscribers. That's half of 100. And when I do, I'll do something special. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll do something fun. Maybe I'll do a little Q&A or something like that. If you guys have any prayer requests or anything you'd like to add to the topic, I absolutely love having raw discussion with people on the internet. It's difficult too because a lot of people are just angry all the time, but I love having discussion with people, and the comment section on YouTube is my favorite thing to be a part of. So if you have anything you want to add to the topic, you have a prayer request, you have questions you want to ask me, questions for anybody, right? Put them in the comment section. I promise I'll get to it. I try to reply to every comment that I get, and which isn't that hard because I don't get that many. So I just I really appreciate people who take the time to talk on the video. Anyway, I hope you all have a blessed week, and I'll see you later.